Hotel maids of Reddit. What is the weirdest or most disgusting activity you have walked in on while you were about to clean the room? NSFW. I was room service for a few years. I served a 50-60-year-old French Canadian dude who was in nothing but short shorts with a 18-ish-year-old Asian boy in full scuba gear on the bed. Edit. I was really not prepared to learn how many people smear their shit all over hotel rooms. I'm starting to think I'm the weird one for pooping in the toilet. Front desk here. Working right now. We have had many shenanigans happen. A very nice businessman with a briefcase checked into a room. Really a very nice person. Didn't hear much from him all night other than him asking where the liquor store was. Upon morning, he had checked out and left without talking to the desk, not uncommon. When the maid went in to clean the room, she found quite the surplus. Apparently this man had a mild case of alcoholism. He had bought 2 bottles of booze and proceeded to drink it all, as well as spill some onto the phone. Puke all over. And the worst, shitty everywhere. In the bed. On the floor. In the tub. On the shower curtain. All over the toilet. And tried to clean his mess up with all the towels. Needless to say, we have his name hanging up on the list of people who cannot rent a room. Hotels have a do not rent list. I used to be a night auditor and I have my own stories as that. But the one housekeeping story I always remember was when I was coming off shift one morning after covering a few extra hours for the day shift when one of the new housekeepers ran to the desk and said someone was being attacked on the 3rd floor. So I grabbed my manager's keys and headed upstairs and was barely off the elevator when I heard what was very much not someone being attacked. She was screaming her head off though, and he sounded like he was obliging her repeated requests for harder. A few guests were standing around the hallways listening. Most found it funny, but I radioed the front desk to accidentally give the room a wake-up call to settle them down. Poor housekeeper was sitting in back shaking because she thought someone was being murdered in their room. A stag party, bachelor party, was staying in the hotel I work in. And they got ridiculously drunk one night before retiring to their rooms. The next day after they'd checked out, we went into their room only to be greeted by the foulest smell I've ever experienced. Upon entering, we discovered that the 2 guys sharing one room had not only vomited, but had shit everywhere in this room. All over the beds, the floor, in the bin. Some of it was even smeared up the walls. I can only imagine that they were so intoxicated that they lost all control of their bodily functions. No wonder they checked out so hastily. In conclusion, that room had to be completely refurbished. New beds, new carpet, new paint on the walls. It was weeks before it was usable again. Needless to say, the culprits were contacted and made to pay the cost of damages as they'd obviously tried to escape without blame. You know, I'm starting to feel less guilty about leaving the quilt folded but on the floor. Never any activity in progress. But I've definitely cleaned up the aftermaths of very interesting activities. There was the poop room. A young couple with 2 babies leaves after 3 days. I walk into a storm of actual shitty. Poop on the walls. Poop on the carpet. Poop on the sheets. Poop on the towels. Poop. Poop as far as the eye could see. No tip. I literally shed tears of self-pity as I cleaned up the remnants. Another good one was what could only be assumed was a bachelorette party that left me a bit of an gift. An intricate, free-floating web of yarn intertwined with at least a full deck of playing cards featuring 1970s PRN stars hung, no pun intended, majestically from where the curtains once were. The worst part was that my supervisor made me take it to the Lost and Found, where I was forced to come up with a description of the item. I went with hanging pornography mobile, while blushing and giggling hysterically. Well, I worked the front desk at the hotel. But my friend who I used to work with was the houseman and he told me this story once. So it was checkout day for this room. And if the guest haven't come to the front desk by 11:30 am, checkout is 11 am, then we call the rooms. This particular room didn't pick up the phone when we called from the front desk, which isn't that unusual as sometimes people just leave the hotel without checking out. Anyway, my friend, the houseman, goes up to check that the room is clear empty, but he can't open the room with his master swipe key. It was dead bolted from the inside. So we get the all clear from management to open the door and get maintenance to open it with their override keys. The houseman walks in to find the woman still in bed asleep. He says, "Mom, it's time to wake up," and touches her leg. Stone cold. Rigor mortis. TL. Doctor, my friend touched a cold dead body because he thought they were asleep. I'm a 4th generation Alberta oil field worker, and my dad told me a story about a frack crew in an Alberta hotel. I don't know if you guys know, but a frack crew is a large group of men. Sometimes women. But not many, between 20 and 50 guys, and they vary in age from 18 to their mid-50s. The crew decided that for some reason, this was the perfect night to get absolutely hammered drunk and FCK up some shitty. They had multiple complaints. And when the front desk staff finally sent up the cops to start kicking asses out, they discovered that the large and very inebriated group had decided that they wanted to party together. But the single room was too small. So they had smashed the wall out between 2 rooms. I'm assuming that those who participated no longer had careers as frackers with that particular company. I had a guy from Alberta come into the Essex shop I work at, in BC, and say he wanted to order 50 fleshlights to sell up in camp for quadruple what he paid. I really thought this was where this story was going. Former F&B manager. Front desk manager and catering manager, at different times. While working the desk one morning, a housekeeper came up to the front desk, pale as all hell, shaking, saying we needed to call the police. Apparently, a young woman checked in around 2 AM the night before and performed, or attempted to perform, a self-abortion. There was blood all over the bed, carpet, chair, walls, door, bathtub. Looked like a murder scene. We originally thought that's what happened, but the investigation revealed what happened. A guy I worked with told a story of how he got called to a room back when doors had round doorknobs. He couldn't open the door because the guy inside the room kept screaming when anyone attempted to enter. Turns out, the guy on the inside had the doorknob up his ass and it was stuck. As a housekeeping supervisor, I didn't observe anything too extreme. But why do people have to do weird shit with their shit? I have never had a problem missing the toilet or shitting the bed my whole life. And these people do it during a quick stay at a hotel? One time in particular, it appeared someone did some fecal finger painting all over the bathroom. I used to work as a housekeeper in a hotel with themed fantasialides. We had an underwater room, igloo room, even a space themed room with a spaceship bed. This particular room was the jungle themed room, complete with a king size swinging bed. We always knock a few times and announce we're entering through an open crack in the door. But I suppose the occupants of the room couldn't hear me over their SI times. I know walking in on people having sex is maybe more common of the weirdest or most disgusting. But these two happen to be around 500 pounds each. Slow motion. Swinging. Sweaty. Loud. Gelatinous pounding. They didn't see me walk in. But I still yelled out sorry unnecessarily and awkwardly loud and slammed the door. Edit. Unnecessary suffix removed. Edit. For those curious. This hotel was in southeastern Wisconsin. I worked there about 10 years ago and it's since been closed. Upvote just for saying gelatinous pounding. I can't stop laughing in between the eeeews. My mom used to be a hotel maid. She told me a story of how she went into a room, there was no do not disturb danger, and walked in on 2 men having sex. Nothing weird really. Just that this was the 70s and my mom was new to the country and she'd never seen 2 men together before. So she was in shock and just stood there, wide-eyed and staring. The men shouted for her to get out and she apologized profusely. She felt bad but they didn't have a sign. Most disgusting. Somebody had wiped his feces on the sheets. Totally disgusting. Luckily lovely older colleague with me took one look and said you take the next one. You're too young for this shitty. I was 15. Most weird. Has to be the bloke who holed up in his room for 10-12 days. Asked for extra blankets, which he used as blackouts over the curtains, and constantly asked at the bar for lemons. Only came out at night really. When he'd order 10 plus soft drinks from the bar. Dip each cig from a pack of 20 in them. Then line up the soggy cigs. Breakfast order was 12 hard-boiled eggs. Then when he'd venture out, in daylight, he'd take the time to rearrange the shelves in the local shop. Strange man. Found a plate full of lemons. Sliced. With the steak knife. On top of a wardrobe when cleaning after him. Strange. Spooky man. Oh yeah. He also wore only black. Big coat. Hat. Scarf draped over hat. During the hottest summer to date, it was bloody warm. Laundry assistant housekeeper for a nursing home here. Walked in on a couple residents masturbating throughout the years. This year I walked into the room of one of our nastier residents and found him with his pants down and he had f-king maggots crawling all over his junk. Apparently he'd refused a shower for several weeks. If not longer. He's been sent to another facility. Found him with his pants down and f-king maggots crawling all over his junk. Sorry, come again? Till that hotel rooms are vile and disgusting and that I should never stay in one. Not me. But a friend. He worked maintenance and got a call to fix a broken door latch. As he approached the room, a 13-year-old girl comes storming out. Yelling at her parents that she wasn't watching this again. Girl lets my friend in the room. Then shit gets real. The girl's mom and dad are 250 and 300 pounds. Respectively. Friend says he's there to work on the door. Both parents are laying underneath the covers in bed. Which is nothing that odd. They tell my friend to get to work. And as he starts pulling out his tools, both parents get out of bed. They're completely naked. And proceed to start porking doggy style on the end of the bed. My friend says he'll just come back. The dad screams for him to keep working as he loudly plows his wife. Friend can hardly work because he's so shaken up. He never looks back. Except for one time on his way out the door. When he sees that the dad was so fat. He laid his belly up on top of his wife's back. And had a chocolate milk in his hand. Okay, not a maid, but I was a front desk worker who had to go to rooms after everyone else left. So this old guy who just checked in with his old leather bag wife called up and said something along the lines of, hey, we were told that you could hook up a DVD player and it's not working. You had better fix it. So I went up there and there he was shirtless wearing short shorts and his wife is obviously topless with a sheet covering while smoking and pouring vodka into wine glasses. So nervously I attach the DVD player and it's a PRNO DVD already going. Husband says thank you over eagerly while touching my shoulder. To make it worse I heard the old leather bag say I wonder what time his shift ends. Maybe we could invite him. I know tiled the way back to the front counter and wouldn't go near that room until they left. I was a room service dude for a few years. A lady had a miscarriage in her bed and cuddled the fetus for a few days. That was pretty messy. That's damn. Not really walked in on, but one of the strangest thing I've ever experienced. I work in small hotel bar in the middle of rural Alberta. The staff here are pretty close and we all know each other. One morning in the fall one of the staff found a box outside one of the hotel side door exits. Soaked in blood and filled with fresh organs. Needless to say he was shocked by it, but not to worry. Being a hunter, he knew it was not human. He went to the front desk to announce his odd and disturbing findings. Confusion spreads. About an hour or so later questions were answered and then more questions were asked. The chambermaids found the source. In one of the rooms had blood covering the bathroom tub and various areas. The guest had somehow killed a deer. Brought it into the hotel side door and butchered it in the room. TLDR panic in hotel. Only one life lost. I've seen a lot of posts on here about period sex or poop ruining sheets and towels. and how they just threw it all out. Don't these people get charged for that? I mean, every hotel I've been to has required a credit card on file before I got the room. Serious question. Ugh. Did this job for a while. Worst job I ever had. So much phlegm and jizz in the showers. Every single day. Like not just one gross person but multiple gross people. Every goddamn day. Also really badly blood-stained sheets. I just hope that it was messy period sex and not some horrifically violent sexual assault and tried not to think about it. Till I'm the only person who puts the do not disturb sign on the door when I am disturbed in hotel rooms. I expected to see someone comment about that guy who puts headphones on and jacks off and films it when the cleaning ladies walk in. Just on the other side of things. When I was staying in a hotel I once had a maid walk in right as the girl I was fking orgasmed really loudly. We heard a crash as they sprinted out the room. I ran after them. Naked because we were scared and they just left the whole trolley of cleaning supplies. I checked. The room security was still set to private. So they shouldn't have come in. Looking back I can understand why they would leave their stuff behind if a naked man started running out of his room at you. Sorry for any traumatized maids out there. Man-made here. I never walked in on anything. But I touched a small dot of poop that I thought was a cigarette burn in the bathtub. I wish I could've seen my face. I was planning on going to apply for a housekeeping job at a hotel tomorrow. FCK this thread. My grandma worked in a motel back in the 50s in New Mexico. And a group of priests came in once and tea in a small trash can. My mother works for a hotel and she would have a customer who would come by every Tuesday at 2:00 p.m. with a different woman every week. He would always leave the room pretty messy but nothing too out of the norm. But this particular week he brought a particularly heavy-set African American woman and he checked out much earlier than usual. When my mother went into the room she smelled a foul stench and right in the middle of the bed was a large pile of human tea. She threw out the bedding. Poor mom. I'm not a hotel worker or anything but one time my husband and I were staying at a hotel and bought some chocolate body paint. Well I painted his knob and then licked and bobbed that FK for a while. Afterwards I noticed that my drool and the paint had run down his balls and created a very disgusting looking puddle of pooish colored mess. I'm sure the housekeeper thought she was washing poop too. This is a silver lining story. Sometimes the poop you think is poop is just poopy chocolate cock drool. I know I'm late to the dance. So this will probably get buried. But when I was a young, I cleaned motel rooms in Missoula, Montana. Fish came through town. And our humble establishment somehow ended up playing host to legions of fish fans. Oh my crap. Cleaning those rooms was the most vile thing that I have ever experienced. Boxes upon empty boxes of lice color. Used condoms laying on the carpet. Vomit everywhere. And occasionally a used needle. Oh Christ. The vomit. I can still smell the rank, crusty, 12 hours old hippie vomit. Zero problem with hippies. For the record. Just the crusty, dirty, prolific vomiters. TL. Dr. Dirty Hippies are called dirty hippies for a damned good reason. Searching for the housekeeper who found my brother after he'd killed himself. It was in Destin, Florida, and I think about that poor housekeeper a lot. If you're reading, I'm really sorry you had to witness that. It was very unkind and inconsiderate of him. I'm not a maid, but I know a guy who knows a maid. Only in this thread? That's pretty much every Ask Reddit thread. My friend, after being denied a honeymoon suite that he had bought, took a dump in the top of the toilet. Afterwards he turned up the heat in his room, left a do not disturb sign and only returned 7 days later to remove the sign so the maids could clean the room. Management was not thrilled. TL. Doctor friend took a dump in the top of the toilet, turned the heat up and left for a week. So he paid for hotel room for a week and didn't use it? Man. He showed them. Your friend is a douchebag. A seriously terrible human. Why take it out on a maid who has to clean it? When management is the problem. What a jerk. Making more work for minimum wage workers. This story doesn't make any sense. If he was denied the room, how did he get in there to take a sh*t? And let's say he rented another room to do this prank. Did he rent the room for an entire week just to get back at the hotel? Cause if the room is not being rented by anyone, they would just ignore the do not disturb sign. I was a room service dude for like a month. A celebrity I won't name showed up, and when he left there was vomit on the ceiling, floor, beds, a puddle of cum that someone stepped in, a litter box, no one saw him bring in cats, a contraption used to hang yourself by the ceiling from your nipples, and strangest of all, a small portrait of a random person using this contraption.